Welcome to the Black Male Impact. Today we have as guest Dr. Phillip Porter. Dr. Porter, welcome to the Black Male Impact.
Well, Dr. Cross, thank you very much. I'm glad to be on this Saturday, late Saturday morning on Juneteenth weekend at that. So I appreciate the invitation and just excited to be here and share some thoughts with you.
Man, thanks for being here, man. It's a pleasure. With all the great work that you're doing, it's great to have you with us here to share on the Black Male Impact. I know you are also author of 7 books and currently the president of West Coast Bible College and Seminary. But I'll give you the opportunity to share more with the listeners before we get into the questions. So Dr. Porter, please share more about what you do and currently doing with the listeners.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you a little bit about who I am currently, then I'm gonna do a flashback on how I got to where I am.
That's right.
And like you said, I'm just excited to be the new president of West Coast Bible College and Seminary down here in Fort Worth, Texas. And I'm also the president of our family business, Generations Empowerment Enterprises. So we'll be talking about that a little bit more later. But on a personal note, in July, I'll be celebrating my 39th anniversary with my lovely wife, Dr. Janice Porter. And we have 3 adult kids. My oldest is a daughter. She's an attorney. She has her MBA and she has her own business. My son, the middle son, I got 2, 1 girl and 2 boys. My son has a dual master's, one in cybersecurity and one in MBA, and he's working on starting his own agency. And my youngest son, he has his doctorate in education and is a teacher of an all-boys school in Richmond, Virginia.
Wow.
So that's a little bit that I was born and raised in Kansas City, Kansas, actually, in a community called Argentine. And I went to college at South Carolina State University, which is an HBCU. So go Bulldogs there.
That's right.
And from there, Gillette Company recruited me as a chemist to work at their manufacturing facility in St. Paul, Minnesota. So that was a transition, being young, going from South Carolina to Minnesota. But that was a blessed time in my career. And when I left there, Gillette, after 20 years, Gillette sold the facility to Diamond Products. And I was actually the managing director over quality for 3 manufacturing facilities in 3 different states. Then there I went and worked for a nonprofit, became a business advisor, loan officer. So anything dealing with business and clients and training, all of that, trained some actually very successful Black-owned businesses. So that's been an exciting experience. And then our own family, got our own company, Generations Empowerment Enterprises. I'm what they call G2, second generation. And right now we have 3 going on 4 generations involved. And then lastly, now the president of West Coast Bible College and Seminary here in Dallas, Texas.
So, man, that's awesome. That's a wealth of experience, which is great to share with the next generation or even current generation, because not everyone have in those positions where they take on leadership roles. So the responsibilities are different. So it's great that you're here to share some of your insights and perspective and how we can navigate our way as we go forward. So I'm just going to dive into the questions, and I know we'll get to hear more about what the work that you're doing entails, because some of these questions will give you the opportunity to share from your work experience or life experiences. All right, so my first question is, what is the mindset that it takes to make a positive impact?
The mindset is really what I call it. You really need to know your purpose. If you know your purpose, then for me, that has set the mindset, and your purpose can change as you age.
Okay.
Because my purpose coming out of college and my purpose now are different. And sometimes the purpose expands And also, I've learned over time, you can't have more than one purpose. And that kind of surprises people when I actually say that. But you can actually have more than one purpose. But if you stick with your purpose, where are you going or where the Lord is leading you long term, for me, that helps me keep the mindset and not what they say, sweat the small stuff.
That's right.
Sometimes that's hard to do when you in the trenches, but you have to keep your eye on the long-term ball and what your purpose is and what your goals are.
I appreciate that. And I do believe that because on this journey, there are going to be tough days. But when you have something that really keep you grounded, you're more likely to stay on target because you have something that really keeps you going, even when you don't feel like it. So
That's
having
right.
purpose or finding purpose, I believe, is important. And thanks for that reminder, as you shared. A lot of people still may struggle with finding their purpose. So what would you say to someone who still don't
Okay.
find their purpose?
All right, and that's normal. We actually got a class called Where to Find Your Purpose. And it's actually, we've identified at least 8 places a person can actually look to find their purpose. And we've gathered this information over time after working with families and individuals and asking them, well, where did they find, where did they find their purpose? Not everybody knows their purpose when they're age 10 or 11.
Correct.
Right? I have some family members in our own family, they knew early what they wanted to do, right? They just knew it. And some people, they go to college, they don't know. They enter the workplace, they don't know, right? They start getting 40s and 50, they don't know. But I'm also saying it's never too late, at least if someone can show you, well, where should I be looking to find my purpose? And people find it, as you know, Dr. Cross, a lot of different ways. People find it in tragedies.
Yeah.
People has found it in uncompleted works of ancestors.
Yeah.
Right. So they found it in a lot of different ways. So there's still time. And I actually say sometimes you have to talk through, because sometimes the purpose is in front of you, but you can't see it because of life's distractions and life stress and blending black male, everything that goes along with that. Sometimes we can't even see it, even though it's right there.
Well, and that's true because when you're going through challenges and you're more focused on the challenge, and sometimes, as you mentioned in what you're sharing, sometimes it's the challenge that's the purpose. But because we're looking for something else, or
That's
think
right.
it should be something else, but sometimes your experience is to help to liberate others. So the struggle that you're in could be your purpose to provide solutions to that struggle so you can help somebody else to go through their struggle. And
That's right.
as you
That's right.
mentioned, some people do realize it early, and then some people realize it late. And some people may never realize what their purpose is
That's
because
right.
they're distracted, maybe focusing more so on what others are doing and not what they are supposed to do. Man,
That's
thanks for
correct.
that perspective. And I'm going to go straight into the next question. So, what advice do you have for the men listening on how they can play a role in creating positive change?
See, that question I actually love because I love sharing that, because one of the things I like to tell young people, old people, regardless of their age, if you really want to have an impact, is to find a group or organization that's bigger than you that you can connect into,
Wow.
right? It could be anywhere from, like for me, even going to a HBCU and being a young person, you can have a maybe impact change because you can develop some confidence. You actually see a lot of African American men in leadership positions that may inspire you. So, I mean, so connecting with organizations, even your local chamber,
Correct.
even becoming a member of a fraternity, whatever. What I'm just saying is connecting with those organizations. It could be your local church, connecting with something that's bigger than you are, so you can add your link to the chain.
Correct.
Right? Your link to the chain can make the chain stronger, make it wider, and have maybe even a greater impact.
Man, that's a really, really great perspective, because you'll find some people be wondering what they need to do. And that's really an easy way to make an impact, to
That's
be
right.
part of an organization, to be part of something that you resonate with, to
That's
be
right.
part of something that you may enjoy, which you didn't even have to create.
That's right.
Somebody created it already.
That's
You're
right.
just being a part of that organization, that institution, as you mentioned, that fraternity, and you can find your place within those organizations
That's
and make
right.
your contribution. And I think that's something that we all have to look into. We don't have to go on this journey ourselves. We
That's
don't
right.
have to start something ourselves. Although it's great to start something, create something of our own, but if we're still struggling and to find ways to make an impact, as you mentioned, find an organization, find a club, a fraternity, whatever that
Whatever.
resonates with you,
That's
and
right.
be a part of it and share your knowledge, your insights, and make the impact that
That's right.
you want to make. And man, I really appreciate that insight and how we all can be part of something greater
That's
than
right.
ourselves.
That's right. We definitely can, and you can definitely make an impact. And sometimes, like you said, more sooner than later.
That's right. That's right. And that you don't have to, as mentioned before, we don't have to create or come up with a blueprint. Just
That's
go
right.
here
That's right.
and share what you know
Mhm.
with the organization that resonate with you, that serving in the areas that you want to serve, church, clubs, whatever it is
Whatever it is.
that you find to be of interest to you. And that leads me to my next question. How
Mhm.
can we, as Black men, help to change the narrative? And you can choose what narrative that you want to focus on, but there are so many things that they have said that we don't do as Black men, or
Mhm.
there are things that we're now doing that the major media don't really cover.
That's
So
right.
what do you believe we as Black men can do to help change the narrative today?
Well, one of the things I know we can do is take your platform, regardless of how big or how small, that's irrelevant. But take your platform, even if it's just your Instagram or your Facebook, take that time and put something positive. So if something is positive and is going on in the community, nobody don't have to tell you, right? Take your platform and say, there's going to be a Juneteenth celebration, and we're going to be recognizing, such and such. That would be a great for all of us to come together as a nation of people and celebrate and bear witness to what has happened to us as a people and going forward. So and you never know, like you, I'm sure you understand that you may think somebody may or may not be listening, but you never know, right? And that one thing might have got that young person, even in your own family that's seen it, that might say, geez, maybe I should do that, or maybe I should consider this, right? So take whatever platform that you have, regardless of how big or small, and actually boost up someone else.
Man, that's great, because people may think that they need to have millions of followers or millions of engagement
Mhm.
to make a contribution or to make their contribution. And as you mentioned, something can be going on in the community that's positive that may not get coverage,
That's
that
right.
may not be on local news or local TV
Mhm.
for people to see it. But as an individual, being a part of that community, we can see what's going on and then share it. And I
That's
think
right.
that's how we'll help to change the narrative, because we have to realize, I believe, that it's up to us to really change our narrative, our story. If someone was going to change it, they would already change it.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So we can't wait for somebody to change for us what we can change for ourselves.
That's
And
right.
I think that's where we have to take accountability and responsibility for what our story will be like going forward. Because there
Hmm.
are a lot of negative things online, and sometimes it seems to get more engagement than the positive.
Hmm.
But we can't
Hmm.
even look at that. We have to continue to share the positive that we see happening and make our impact, and
That's right.
and support those who are making their impact, so their content or their message can be seen by others. And man, that you couldn't say that more. I think that's something that we have to become real cognizant of now if we're going to change the narrative.
That's right. And like you said, we have to really be intentional,
Correct.
right? Because sometimes I may have to check around and see, well, what African American man is opening up a business, or what per African American has a lawn service, right? Or what since we're talking about men, sometimes we may have to take intentional and
Yeah.
act, okay, I'm gonna search out once a week and say something positive about an African American business
Correct. Correct.
or whatever, right? And then post that, make it that's your life's work to post that, even in your own inner circle. So you're having a positive impact. And so that helps, like you said, change the narrative.
Well, I'm going to make a note of that because I think that's something that we need to do more of. I in February, what
Mhm.
I did was I focused on highlighting Black males who are authors.
Oh,
And although that was just in February, I think what I'm going to do, maybe choose another month and focus on Black males who have businesses, their own businesses,
mhm.
and do that as one of a way to promote what Black males are doing within their communities and stuff like that. And
Yep.
so I really appreciate you sharing that, because that brings back what I did in February. And I was even considering doing it again.
Sure.
February is like the month that where we focus really on what we are doing as Black people. But I
Mhm.
was really intentional to highlight Black males who
Okay.
are authors. So that's something else that I can really look into, maybe from an entrepreneurial perspective, or just doing their own business,
That's right.
because everyone will not be entrepreneurs, but they're still making their contribution. So that is something that I'll take note of as I go forward, to dedicate a month to really focus on what
Oh,
we are
great.
doing as Black men. So thanks for sharing that, because that's important. So my next question is, what or who has influenced or inspired you to pursue the path that you're on? I know over the years you have made transition,
Yes,
so
right.
you can share as early as when you just started, who influenced you, and then later to be in the position that you are in now, where or what inspired you to be on this path.
Okay. Well, what I'm gonna pick maybe the what.
Okay.
When me and my wife wrote our second book called The Power in a Vision Driven Family, we wrote this book because people had all the time asked us, well, how did you get your family to come together and establish a business, right? And now your family got some land and property, and now you got over 30 members, people in your family that's members, shareholders in the family business.
Wow.
So how do you guys actually do that? And so one day I felt led that, okay, it's time to write a book and see if we can just share with people our journey where the vision started 50 years from now, up until the present time a few years back. So we wrote the book, and every time my wife and I, write books, and most of the books I've written, I've co-written with my wife,
Okay.
we always the first copy goes to our pastor. That would say what we would always do. Now we gave a copy to him, and then to our surprise, he asked us to conduct a family vision workshop at the church.
Wow.
We didn't expect it. We didn't see it coming or anything. So we hadn't planned on it. So long story short, we conducted the workshop. It went great. People was able to start identify where to find their purpose, which is one example. That workshop turned into other ministers across the country kind of calling us and asking us to do workshops for them. And then COVID hits. We transitioned from workshops to webinars. And so that was a blessing because we had some people internationally, they actually take a few of our webinars, which totally surprised us. And then that transitioned to actually creating an online class. And then that actually transitioned and for that online class to be taken by West Coast Bible College and Seminary. So being obedient and writing in that second book, and I never considered myself an author, ever.
It happens. It happens.
So it just happened. I was just writing, our own family experience. And so that's kind of that pivotal moment that kind of changed everything. Like I said, one of those moments, right? One of those moments in time.
Yeah, and could you repeat the name of the book again?
Yeah, the name of the book is The Power in a Vision-Driven Family. And we actually got one that's called The Power in the Vision-Driven Family Workbook.
Okay.
And so the whole class that we have at West Coast, which is called Success, a certification in family success, is all based on that book and the research that we done with that book. So it went from our family to making it, more kind of generic and actually a roadmap for families on how do we actually come together to make this happen.
And from a family perspective, I think that's something that within the Black community will really propel us forward and even help with economic mobility, because that also helps with group dynamics in a sense, where our group economics, I should say, where it come together and help to leverage the resources that are close by to venture into something bigger. And then when something bigger, it grows, and then more people can benefit from their little from a collective perspective. So that's really a great. And I think if we can do more of that, we can move up or see more upward mobility within the Black community. So really, thanks for sharing that, and hope the listeners remember, but they can go back and listen again to get the name of the book. So they can have it as part of their resource to see what they can leverage to build as they go forward. So thanks for sharing that. So my next question is, what is your perspective on how the current climate of Black men in society? So what is your perspective on the current climate of Black men in society?
Well, I got kind of a two-part answer to that question. One is from what I call a high-level public view, it's negative as it relates to our society, what you hear on the news and all of that, right? Generally, if you're hearing something about a Black man on the nightly news, it's not going to be good, right? But as you know, that's by design.
Correct.
Right. But I also say, but by what I call the silent majority, the quiet majority, what African-American men has done over the years since I've been little, it has been outstanding. Right. We're doing things that we've never historically could have done before. But you're not going to necessarily hear that. Right. You're not going to necessarily hear about the HBC law schools. You're not going to hear about the HBC medical schools. You're not going to necessarily hear about the professors or the engineers that's doing this with NASA, right? But so from that perspective, we're actually doing well. But like I said, we do have a long ways to go because the public persona and the private persona is not the same.
Correct.
But that's the society, right? But like you said, that's why it's up to us to change the narrative to let people know there's a lot of African Americans that's doing things every day and have been doing their entire life, and we don't have a clue.
That's true.
We don't have a clue. So that's kind of my my take on it. So it's the small negatives totally outweighs the positive that Black men are doing.
Well, and yes, you're right. But as you said, the silent majority that are doing great work. I think what we have to do is find a way to amplify our voices,
That's right.
amplify the great things that we're doing. Being that we may not be the owners of major media outlets, the news outlets that's already been what most people look at. Because yes, there are medias out there that Black people talk positive about, but those are the ones that are not viewed as much as what cover the negative. So we just have to find a way to amplify our voices and amplify the great things that we're doing, as you mentioned, by sharing the things that we see that are good, by doing it over and over and over and over, and be okay with doing it over and over. Because guess what? Everything that we see on TV, we know all those fast food chains are open, but every day they're on the TV, being advertised. So we have to realize that we cannot and should not stop sharing the positive. It's not say we share it Monday and then we'll wait 3 more Mondays before we share again. We have to share it 7 days a week. It's not that we don't know it exists, just as though we know all the car dealers exist, but they still share the message because they want to keep it in front of us. And that's something that we have to become cognizant of and see the importance of being a conduit to sharing the message that we want the world to know about us. So I appreciate that, because that's something that we know, but it's up to us. As you mentioned in the beginning, we are responsible to change the narrative. No one is going to do it for us. If that was going to happen, they would already change the narrative. It's on us to really, really buckle down and realize that we do have the ability, we do have the even the knowledge and intelligence.
That's right.
We already know how to persevere. We already know how to thrive. We already know how to be consistent. So we just have to amplify the great things that we are doing. So that leads me to my next question. What change do you want to see in general amongst Black men?
Well, the biggest change I want to see is, we touched on it early, is more collaborations and more partnerships with each other.
Correct.
Right? So we can, like you said, take that group economic effect and really leverage it up and making that become the norm with African American men. And I want to give you just a couple of examples of what I've done, because people, what I want to share with people, it doesn't have to be something big. Sometimes the small things that you do can help with that collaboration. And for example, the book I was just talking about, The Power in a Vision-Driven Family, what me and my wife did, we intentionally got other people involved in actually the writing of that book. And I'm gonna give you a couple examples. For example, me and my wife, we co-authored the book, but we have one sister-in-law to edit the book.
Okay.
We had another sister-in-law to write a foreword. I had my brother to write a foreword. I had 2 nephews, part of our generations 3, to write a foreword, 1 cousin to write a chapter. You see what I'm saying? So we intentionally got other people in our family and out of our family involved, but what that took us knowing what their skills were.
Correct.
Right? So you have to know that my nephew is actually a professional graphic designer, right? You have to actually know some of these things so they can utilize their expertise. So collaborate on a project And then we take all the royalties from the books that we've written that actually go into the family business, right? So, but that's intentional. And same way with my position at West Coast Bible College and Seminary, we have a honorary doctorate degree program.
Okay.
All right. So, but the honorary doctorate degree program is at a Bible college, but it's not just for ministers only whose life's work is in ministry. So what we're really trying to do is focuses on, well, who are those unsung heroes in our community? They may own a business, they may be a teacher, a professor, all right? They may be a leader of a nonprofit, but they're actually serving the community. So how can we actually recognize them on our platform? So expanding it out so more young people can see, oh, they got that because of their life's work as a high school coach. I never known they was a coach because they never won a state championship, but they've been coaching these teens and making them men for
Correct.
30 years. You see, so those are the kind of things I'm saying, take what you have, even if it's from writing a book.
Well, the collaboration is key to us moving forward, because I think what happened to us, we have been conditioned to distrust each other, to not be loyal to the cause to help us moving forward. So coming together, not to say we have to come together and do the same thing as you mentioned with the book. There are different skill sets that
right.
each of us will have to contribute to whatever project. And we don't have to work on the same projects. We don't have to want to make the same impact. But whenever and wherever we come together, what is it that unique to you? And
right.
I think together we'll be stronger, of course. That will actually change how the world view us. Because
Yeah.
if we are working together, they
Yes.
know that Black men will be a force to be reckoned with. Because
Yes, sir.
one, we are strong. Two, we are intellectually capable. And
Yes.
so those things are already a given. So if we should come together with that, man, we will shake the world.
That's right.
And they know, and it is something that I think is happening slowly, but sometimes you wish it would speed up. But I think we are becoming more conscious of the importance of us coming together, because the world pull us apart, and they're not going to put us together. We have to take those steps ourselves to come together, to use what we have, even the scars, as part of what will help us to go forward. So I appreciate that perspective, and it cannot be said enough
That's
that
right.
coming together will be one of our best tools to progress.
That's right.
So man, that's one of the change that would really position us to do great things in the world, although we are already doing some great things, but it will definitely help
Yep.
us as
I
we go
really do.
forward. So my next question is, what was a pivotal moment in your life?
Well, I have a few, but let me maybe give you one, maybe two, but one came when I didn't expect it. I was actually sitting in grad school at the University of St. Thomas, and the professor asked all the students to share, why are you getting an MBA? Okay. Most of us, including me, I was getting it for professional reasons to help my career at Gillette Company. All right. But I had never heard until I heard, I want to say 25% of the students said they was there because they needed, their family needed the expertise.
Wow.
And I said, the family needed the expertise. I never heard that before. Now that was what I call it, that 25%, 25%. So some of them after class, I asked them, what do you mean by that? Right? And many of them, they was part of generational wealth or working towards it.
Wow.
because their family, their business needed an accountant, it needed a whatever, right? So they was there not because of what they wanted, they was there because of a bigger vision that their family had.
Hmm.
That that totally surprised me. And then you fast forward, I want to say 4 years ago, I had a niece, a couple of nieces actually contacted me and said, Uncle Phil, I'm looking at going to college. What does the family need?
Wow.
Right? Because they really didn't know, right? Kind of what we said earlier, they really didn't know what their purpose was. So they wasn't slanting either way, but they wanted to maybe have an impact or make a contribution, right? And that almost brought tears to my eyes because I said, that's historical for us. No one has ever asked that.
Wow.
So in the family meeting, somebody was listening. It just totally floored all of us, especially their parents.
Wow.
I get that. So for me, that was a pivotal moment because I've never heard that all of my time through school, that people was going to school for a greater purpose, not just for them. And one guy said, if I do what my family asks, I can pretty much have and do what I want.
Wow.
I said, wow, that totally, Dr. Cross, I'm saying that was one of those light bulb moments. So I always have that in my mind when I'm talking to younger people, whether my family members or not. That's kind of always. So that was a pivotal moment for me.
Man, that is really powerful right there. That is like really powerful. I read that in a book, man, a couple of years ago.
Okay.
I don't remember what, I don't want to say the book because I'm not sure which book, but I read it. And this was a book about millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
And the family direct their child in the field that they believe will be beneficial to the family, not
Mm-hmm.
just for them. You find some kids would rebel because they don't want to do what their parents, but sometimes the parents, they were looking ahead. I don't
That's.
remember the name. It is a book about people who became millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people would see these people not even know that they're millionaires, but they
That's right.
direct their child to go in those fields that they believe will be beneficial to their, because most of them do have businesses. Even if their businesses are small at the time, they focus on, you mentioned the MBA, and because having an MBA could help them to leverage their business.
That's right.
So, and it's the bigger picture. And if you buy into the bigger picture, man, it can change a whole lot. So I really appreciate you sharing that because I've never, since I've started, I've never heard someone share that perspective, which I believe it is very important for us
That's right.
in the Black community to
Mhm.
realize that sometimes what we pursue may not be something for us. And if it instill in the child younger, they will develop the skill set, they will develop the desire for it. And once they
That's
develop the
right.
desire, it becomes easy because they're going to love doing it.
That's right.
Sometimes you have to teach them to love some things.
That's so true. And I'm gonna tell you one thing. This is like happened 10 years ago. There was an ad on Indeed for a family education director.
Mhm.
And I opened it because I opened it out of curiosity. And what it was a wealthy family that was looking to hire an educational director that can educate their generations 3 through 5
Wow.
on the family's purpose, on the family's businesses purposes, on help training them to be the next generation of leaders in their family and their businesses. And me and my wife said, what? And so the affluent is actually doing this on purpose.
Yep.
And we say, well, why are they working together? How are they able to do that? And so from that, we got to learn, well, they actually are teaching their kids, those generations, to actually work together. But like you said, they're actually teaching that at age young, when they're young.
Yep.
So that becomes normal for their family.
Yep. So
And I
when they
never
read,
heard that. Me and my wife said, we actually kept that, and we actually kept that announcement till today because we like to show it to people. See, this is what they do. And they tell us one thing,
that's right.
but they leave off the fact that, well, we're teaching our kids
Oh
how
yeah.
this is done.
Oh yeah. That's what keeps their business going, their
Mhm.
wealth going and growing, because they're not going to leave it to chance.
That's
And that's
true. Yes, sir.
something that we have to become cognizant of. We cannot leave what's possible to chance.
That's
We
right.
have to be intentional in creating wealth, in breaking the cycle, in changing the dynamics of our family,
Mhm.
our families, if it's going to change. Nothing is going to happen by chance.
That's right.
Well, what will benefit us greatly is not going to happen by chance. We have to create that intentionally. But I really appreciate that perspective. That's really powerful right there. So my next question is, what life lesson have you learned late in life that you believe is important and can benefit this current generation?
Well, a life lesson that I actually learned from one of my sons. And one of the things he posts on his social media page, primarily when he's exercising and is working out, he always end his comment with hashtag me versus me.
Hmm.
And I asked him one day, well, what does that mean, me versus me? He said, Dad, what I'm always struggling at is the current me versus the visionary me and where I want to go.
Hmm.
So I'm always dealing with the current me. Okay, I need to improve my exercise. I need to improve my ability to be a better son. I need to improve my education. I need to improve my service to others. So I'm always competing against me versus me, and always improving me so I can be a better servant to others.
Man, that's
I said, what? I said, that is so true, right? And, maybe it's something I was kind of doing, but I never necessarily vocalized it like that. How can I become a better me? So I always like to share at whatever age, how can you become a better you?
and that's a great reminder. And that takes the focus of looking what other people are doing and trying to be like others, but try to improve who you are. As
That's
you
right.
mentioned, that you can serve better wherever you are serving, so you can be better,
That's right.
which is really important. And when our focus is on improving ourselves, we'll make better contribution
That's right.
in whatever spaces that we are, and we'll serve better. And so that's always a great reminder, me versus me,
Yeah.
to to become the best version of ourselves. And we do that every day, challenge ourselves so we can be better. My next question is, where can the listeners find you and help support your work that you're doing to make a difference?
Well, our website is globalfamilysuccess.com, globalfamilysuccess.com. They can find me there. We're also on Instagram at Global Family Success.
Okay,
And you can find me on LinkedIn,
that's right.
which is where I was able to connect with Dr. Cross. So thank you once again for that. We're also on Facebook as well.
Okay,
If you want to email me, I'm at admin
okay,
at globalfamilysuccess.com.
okay,
From a West Coast Bible College, and you can reach me there at Phillip, my first name, at westcoastbc.org.
okay.
So, because we're also looking for people, you got that unsung hero that you would like to nominate for honorary doctorate degree, you can contact me. You can email me or contact me there, and we can provide you with the requirements and that sort of thing. So that's kind of our way of reaching out. And like I said, they don't have to be a minister,
Mm-hmm.
all right? It's they serving the community, trying to make a positive impact in whatever way that is. Them, we really want to promote them and elevate them and say thank you for your service.
Okay. And do they have to be in a particular state?
No, this is nationwide. So they
Okay.
do not have to be in a Pacific state. No.
Okay. Thank you. And I will put the link in the description so the listeners can reach out to you and learn more about the work that you're doing and the impact that you're making. Because I know you still have a lot more that you can share with people on a whole. So I'll definitely put the link in the description so they can connect with you. So my final question is, what impact do you want to have on the world?
Well, my impact I want to have on the world is to bring knowledge basically to families of the world, and specifically African American families of the world, so we can at least from a small family, brotherhood, like-minded, find a way to build in generational wealth by working together intergenerationally. Because many of our courses that we design them for intergenerationals to take the classes together, so we all in the family is talking about the same thing. So if we can have an impact and move the needle and increase the knowledge of families and Black men in our community by giving them the confidence, the motivation, the tools, the roadmap, but giving them the knowledge, because that's just what we miss in many cases, because we don't have the knowledge on the how to. So
Correct.
if we can do that and continue to help families throughout the country, I'm happy.
Man, that is really great, especially the knowledge and just to see how we can, as a family, intergenerational, to create wealth. Because no matter how you want to look at it, you need to have it. So,
That's right.
you don't have to, go through the struggles. So you can position the next generation to achieve what they want to, even to go to college to get a degree. Sometimes some people don't get to because they can't afford to. So even at least to give them that opportunity so they can go after whatever dreams, I think that is really important. They may not have to be entrepreneurs, but they can get the education paid for so they can achieve something on their own. So, but that is great. Dr. Porter, man, it was a pleasure having you here on the Black Male Impact. You have shared some very important reminders and insights to us all as we continue on this journey to change the narrative when it comes to us as Black men. So, Dr. Porter, again, thank you for being
Thank
here
you.
on the Black Male Impact.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cross.
It's a pleasure. And listeners, as always, thanks for being here with us. Continue to support, continue to share with us whichever way you possibly can, so we can continue to do the work that makes a difference. Thanks for being here with us on the Black Male Impact.